Sup, you beautiful bastards. Hope you've had a fantastic Monday. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show, and let's just jump into it. And the first thing we're going to talk about today, one of the most requested stories from over the weekend, is a story about 18-year-old Kazaya. This high school student was at the center of an international Twitter firestorm because she posted photos wearing a cheongsam, or a qipao, to her prom. It's a Chinese traditional dress. It's usually silk with a high collar. She posted the photos with a simple caption, "prom," and many people online were just not having it. And the main person going after her at the center of this story is another Twitter user by the name of Jeremy Lam. Jeremy quote tweeted her post saying, "My culture is not your goddamn prom dress." Then going into the history of the dress, saying this piece of clothing embraced femininity, confidence, and gender equality through its beautiful eye-catching appearance. It even broke the division of financial classes. It could be made with high-quality materials that only the upper class could afford, such as special silks and linens, but a dress just as beautiful could have been made with just cotton and low-quality linen. And in this thread going on to say, in short, I'm proud of my culture, including the extreme barriers marginalized people within that culture have had to overcome those obstacles, or to simply be subject to American consumerism and cater to a white audience is parallel to colonial ideology. Others, like a woman going by the name of Kate, saying, was the theme of prom casual racism? And on top of that, as you'd imagine, there are uglier ones that I won't even share. Now, in response to all the criticism and ugly attacks, Kazaya responded on Twitter, writing, "To everyone causing so much negativity, I mean no disrespect to the Chinese culture. I'm simply showing my appreciation to their culture. I'm not deleting my post because I've done nothing but show my love for the culture. It's a fucking dress and it's beautiful. To everyone who says I'm ignorant, I fully understand everyone's concerns and views on my dress. I mean no harm. I am in no way being discriminative or racist. I'm tired of all the backlash and hate when my only intent was to show my love. I love and appreciate diversity in other cultures. I mean no hate. I love everyone." And those responses were met with backlash, some accusing her of dismissing the traditional clothing as, quote, just a dress. Others going on to say they took issue with the poses her and her friends were making in the photo. Some saying, "Sis, you're literally mocking them with these poses." To that criticism, she responded, "This was not meant to mock and wasn't even my idea, let alone wasn't even thought of as mocking at the time. I meant no harm. I'm tired of everyone's ignorance." And I will say in response to this specific criticism, there's really no merit there. Maybe it's just because I watch too much internet, but if you look at that photo, you're seeing two things there. One, the guys in the photo memeing it up with Vape Nation, and the girls, especially this girl in the green rocking the Papa Bless, which are essentially memes and call-outs to H3H3 Productions. That's the handiwork of the fantastic Ethan and Ela Klein. These are high schoolers memeing it up, not trying to disrespect culture. Which also, that doesn't even make sense because she's the only person that's wearing the dress, which in my opinion also should not be offensive. My personal takeaway from this is this girl literally, she just appreciated something, she thought something was beautiful, and that's it. But apparently this still triggered enough people that it became an international trending story. Now keep in mind, I'm not the only person that thinks that this girl should be defended and that the outrage is wrong. You had YouTuber and Twitch streamer Gina Darling writing, "Am I the only Asian person that's not offended by this? She didn't, quote, white it up or culturally appropriated it with. She thought it was beautiful and wore it. Her intentions were good. I love when people think my culture is beautiful and want to wear it. I think it's helping us become better as humans to love and appreciate different cultures. These fake woke people are holding us back from a better and more understanding society. You people who are getting all mad about this are not helping the cause at all if you're going to cry, quote, cultural appropriation over everything. You're watering down the argument. Pick your battles wisely or people will just start tuning you out." YouTuber Jimmy Wong also speaking out about this, saying, "You looked great, Kazaya. Thank you for appreciating and not appropriating a culture for an important life event." Ethan Klein, who I mentioned earlier, also defended her, first on Twitter and then later on a YouTube video. Then, as we often see in these situations, Jeremy Lam became an even bigger part of this story. People saying that it's funny that Jeremy is retweeting things like, another user writing, "This thread is funny because it's nothing but white people justifying her wearing this dress. That's like having a conversation with whites about them using the N-word. It shouldn't be a convo in the first place. Don't do it, LOL." But then Jeremy Lam appears to have tweets from his past where he used the N-word, but also people pointing out tweets in the past where it seemed like he liked a merging of different cultures. One tweet reading, "I'm eating tamales with chopsticks. This is why America was founded." And in response to tweets from his past, Jeremy tweeted, "Yes, I used to be more ignorant than I am now. My youth was not perfect. It was problematic. I was problematic and didn't know better. I sincerely apologize to all the people possibly affected, but my past does not define me." To which, of course, people responded, "Well, if you are deserving of a pass or time to evolve or to be educated, why not this girl that instead of trying to engage in some sort of dialogue, you just shouted at?" Is it something that Gina Darling hit on? Is it just fake wokeness? The dilution of a potentially helpful and important conversation by just shouting at everything equally. And that's actually where I want to pass the question off to you. What did you think about the dress? Are you someone that does think that it is appropriation, or no, you think that it's just appreciation and not a big deal? Are the people coming after this girl, or is it the example of just outrage culture, fake wokeness? Also, what are your feelings about people using Jeremy's past tweets against him in this instance? If you don't normally think people's past tweets are relevant because of the content or the context or the target of those previous tweets, does that change the situation? Anything and everything you think about this topic, I'd love to see in those comments down below. And if if you're new here. I don't care if you agree with me that it's not appropriation, this isn't offensive. Agree or disagree. I want to hear from you. But from that, I want to share some stuff I love today, and today in Awesome brought to you by Dbrand. And Dbrand, I have to say, is one of my favorite sponsors. One, they sell fantastic products, and two, they're just incredibly supportive. When we launched and became solo last year, they were one of the first people to contact us and go, how can we help? Well, last year around that time, Dbrand took a strong position against skinning the Switch due to damage caused by the adhesive. But since then, Dbrand has been working on a solution and have finally launched their new custom skins for the Nintendo Switch, guaranteed not to damage, and holy shit, it looks awesome. I just got mine in today, and holy shit, it's beautiful! Calm down. Got the sexy Dbrand blue on the Joy-Cons, the sexy white. It also has tempered glass that they literally told me to take a knife to. I mean, I believe them. What? Okay. That's crazy. That's dumb. So if you want to check them out, go to DeFrancoSwitch.com. They have 7 brand new Switch exclusive materials. You can grab your Joy-Con skins for under $5 or a 2-pack of tempered glass for your console for under $10 with free global shipping on orders over $20. And like I said, you can just go to DeFrancoSwitch.com or just click the link in the description down below. Also, because the guys over at Dbrand are so badass, they gave me several custom Joy-Cons along with their tempered glass, and I'm just gonna give some of them away. To be in the running for that, I'll include a link down in the description kicking out to this video. Just retweet my tweet and I'll look through and we'll randomly select some winners. And the first bit of awesome, most likely based off of the numbers we're seeing from over the weekend, you've most likely seen it, but if you have not, Avengers Infinity War is amazing. And equally amazing were the records that this movie broke. Biggest domestic opening of all time, broken. Avengers Infinity War bringing in $258.2 million, ousting Star Wars The Force Awakens at $248 million. Then biggest worldwide opening of all time, broken. Globally bringing in $640.9 million, around $100 million more than the previous title holder, that being Universal's Fate of the Furious, which is even crazier when you realize Infinity War hasn't even been released in China yet. And there are several others, but really just congrats to Disney and Marvel for somehow putting out a movie that has so many characters in it and then still putting out a fantastic product that doesn't feel diluted. The way that all the previous movies built to this moment, it was just, it's so effective, and wow, 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 wow. Then we had a new Meet Arnold about what if you eat 100,000 calories. Unbox Therapy showing us what he says is the world's biggest Fortnite gaming setup. Life Noggin asking, how much is the human body worth? We had Pete Davidson going sneaker shopping with Complex. James Cameron answering sci-fi questions from Twitter. Got a trailer for the movie Evil Genius. And if you want to see the full versions of everything I just shared, the secret link of the day, anything at all, links as always are in the description down below. And then let's talk about the White House Correspondents' Dinner that happened Saturday and the reactions to it. Now this year, like last year, President Trump did not attend, but this year we did see other notable faces from the administration present. And at the event, the recipients of the White House Correspondents Association scholarships were read, awards were handed out. But the main thing that everyone usually talks about with the White House Correspondents' Dinner is whoever the entertainer is that night, who's usually roasting people in the room. And Saturday, that was Michelle Wolf, who some people recognize as a correspondent for The Daily Show with Trevor Noah. And I will say, once Michelle was done, I was pretty surprised as to what the main takeaway was, what the narrative was from the media. Because a lot of the criticism and call-outs online had to do with what she said about Sarah Huckabee Sanders, but that was also kind of surprising to me. She called President Trump a pussy.
Of course, Trump isn't here, if you haven't noticed. He's not here. And I know I would drag him here myself, but it turns out the President of the United States is the one pussy you're not allowed to grab.
She also made, and I honestly thought this was gonna be what most of the headlines are about, abortion jokes.
I know a lot of you are very anti-abortion, you know, unless it's the one you got for your secret mistress.
Michelle also took aim and fired at the news organizations themselves, which I feel like is also the reason why we're seeing people in the mainstream media going at her when maybe they normally would not have. I'll touch on that again in a second.
You guys are obsessed with Trump. Did you used to date him? Because you pretend like you hate him, but I think you love him. I think what no one in this room wants to admit is that Trump has helped all of you. He couldn't sell steaks or vodka or water or college or ties or Eric. But he has helped you. He's helped you sell your papers and your books and your TV. You helped create this monster, and now you're profiting off of him.
So several of those I thought were going to be the main takeaway from the night, but it ended up being what she said about Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Michelle compares Sanders to a character on a TV show.
We have Sarah Huckabee Sanders. We are graced with Sarah's presence tonight. I have to say, I'm a little starstruck. I love you as Aunt Lydia on The Handmaid's Tale. Mike Pence, if you haven't seen it, you would love it.
Then going on to say she gets so excited when Sarah Huckabee Sanders gets to that podium because she doesn't know what she's going to get.
You know, a press briefing, a bunch of lies, or divided into softball teams. It's shirts and skins, and this time don't be such a little bitch, Jim Acosta.
Then going in on Sarah Huckabee Sanders again for what she says is lying, and some people are saying this is also another attack on her looks.
I actually really like Sarah. I think she's very resourceful. Like, she burns facts, and then she uses that ash to create a perfect smoky eye. Like, maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's lies. It's probably lies.
And then closing out on her saying, I don't know what to call Sarah Sanders.
Oh, is it Sarah Sanders? Is it Sarah Huckabee Sanders? Is it Cousin Huckabee? Is it Auntie Huckabee Sanders? Like, what's Uncle Tom but for white women who disappoint other white women? Oh, I know, Aunt Coulter.
And following this, the thing is, it wasn't just Trump supporters or conservatives that were angry about this roast. There were people on the left and journalists who said this was wrong. Maggie Haberman, a White House correspondent for the New York Times, tweeting out that press secretary sat and absorbed intense criticism of her physical appearance, her job performance, and so forth, instead of walking out on national television was impressive. Mika Brzezinski, co-host of Morning Joe, tweeting, watching a wife and mother be humiliated on national television for her looks is deplorable. I've experienced insults about my appearance from the president. All women have a duty to unite when these attacks happen, and the White House Correspondents Association owes Sarah an apology. Women who use their government positions to spread lies and misinformation deserve to face the same withering criticism as men, but leave our looks out of it. Watching from home, I hurt for Sarah, her husband, and her children. Matt Schlapp, chairman of the American Conservative Union, tweeting out that this is enough of elites mocking all of us. His wife tweeting, completely appalled by the so-called and twisted comedian at the White House Correspondents Association dinner who attacked Sarah Huckabee. Anthony Scaramucci says that Sanders deserves an apology. Sean Spicer calling the dinner a disgrace, to which Michelle Wolf responded, thank you. She also responded to Maggie Haberman, saying, hey Mags, all these jokes are about her despicable behavior. Sounds like you have some thoughts about her looks though, question mark. In a quote tweet of Mika, Michelle tweeted, why are you guys making this about Sarah's look? I said she burns facts and uses the ash to create a perfect smoky eye. I complimented her eye makeup and her ingenuity of materials. We then heard from President Trump, who tweeted, White House Correspondents' dinner was a failure last year, but this year was an embarrassment to everyone associated with it. The filthy, quote, comedian totally bombed. Couldn't even deliver her lines, much like the Seth Meyers week performance. Put dinner to rest or start over. Today, Trump adding, the White House Correspondents' dinner is dead as we know it. This was a total disaster and an embarrassment to our great country and all that it stands for. Fake news is alive and well and beautifully represented on Saturday night. And then we finally got a response from the White House Correspondents Association president, Margaret Tlaib, and it's interesting because she didn't apologize and she didn't stand by the entertainer they put in that position. And it ended up somewhere in the middle, but also at the same time felt like they were throwing Michelle under the bus, saying last night's program was meant to offer a unifying message about our common commitment to a vigorous and free press while honoring civility, great reporting, and scholarship winners, not to divide people. Unfortunately, the entertainer's monologue was not in the spirit of that mission. Adding, Michelle Wolf is a comedian and she speaks for herself, and that is her right to do that under the free speech and the First Amendment, which we were celebrating. I think the comedian reflects on the press corps, but I don't think the comedian speaks for the press corps. And ultimately where I land on this is I wasn't surprised by there being a lot of pushback, but I was surprised by there being pushback from certain individuals, but now reflecting on the story, I shouldn't have been. You know, I looked to this tweet from AP journalist Meg Kennard, who wrote, if the White House Correspondents' dinner did anything tonight, it made the chasm between journalists and those who don't trust us even wider. And those of us based in the red states who work hard every day to prove our objectivity will have to deal with it. I see this reaction from non-conservative media outlets serving two purposes. One, Michelle Wolf is their sacrificial lamb. They get to denounce how horrible she is to prove that they are not bloodthirsty journalists, that they're objective and they take shots at both sides, wink wink. And two, for some of the people involved, for some of the outlets involved, this was their way of making her pay for taking shots at them. Because as Michelle Wolf, and in my opinion rightly points out, all of these news organizations that seem to hate the president talk about him all the time, even with these very minimal stories. So behind the scenes, there are probably a good number of those people that love him because he is great for their numbers. Also potentially trying to separate themselves from, do you remember those guilt articles we saw after the election? Some left-wing journalists looking inward and going, oh my God, did we create this? By focusing so much on Trump because he just gave us so many good sound bites, we didn't think that he had a chance. Did we make him president? And understand, I say this as someone that didn't find Michelle Wolf hilarious. Like the Trump pussy grabbing joke, I thought was top notch. There was also a lot of cringe in there. And I think all of that brings us to, what does the White House Correspondents Association do from here? Because if you really cut to the core of the situation, the whole reason they even have this moment to roast, yes, in part it can be because we care about free speech. But in general, the idea is you get an entertainer, a comedian of some sort, to roast everyone in the room so people actually pay attention to this event. And ultimately, I'm going to pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts around this story? With Michelle Wolf, was she speaking truth to power, or no, she was just being nasty and horrible to people? What do you think about the event moving forward? Do you you think it will continue as is? No, it'll change? Let me know what you're thinking in those comments down below. Then, even though a big chunk of this happened on Friday, I feel like it's important to talk about what is happening with North and South Korea. On Friday, we saw Kim Jong-un of North Korea crossing into South Korea, meeting and shaking hands with South Korean President Moon, both leaders taking a photo with a child from the other country. Reportedly, once at the Peace House, Kim Jong-un wrote in the guest book, "A new history begins now, at the starting point of history and the era of peace." And a big part of these talks was to create a guideline, kind of a framework. And a big part of that is any major decision towards peace involves US approval. That said, the two Koreas reportedly did agree to do a few things. One, they said officially they are ending all hostilities towards one another. Two, the DMZ will be a, quote, genuine peace zone, and there will be a peace sea around the Yellow Sea border. Three, guard posts and heavy weapons will be removed from the border. Four, it was revealed today that things like leaflets and loudspeakers that the countries use to blast propaganda to the other side will be stopped and dismantled. Five, there's a big humanitarian issue with families in Korea being broken up between the two countries. In South Korea alone, reportedly there are around 131,530 Koreans with family across the border. Well, reportedly in August, the two countries will host an event to try and reunite more families, and it seems that they want to do this more often as the split families age. 6, the two Koreas will host frequent talks between high-level military personnel. And 7, to help ease tensions and to ensure that action is taken towards fulfilling these goals, there's now a phone line directly between Moon and Kim, with Moon also committing to visit Pyongyang in the fall of this year. Now, of course, moving towards the larger talks, the big question is, okay, well, what about the nukes? Right, the standpoint of the United States is there's nothing to negotiate unless you are going to denuclearize. Specifically, that North Korea has to have complete, verifiable, irreversible denuclearization. And coming out of these talks, the two Koreas, quote, confirmed the common goal of realizing a Korean peninsula free of nuclear weapons through complete denuclearization. So more and more things seeming like we're going to actually get to this meeting. As far as the potential location of the meeting, Trump tweeted, numerous countries are being considered for the meeting, but would Peace House / Freedom House on the border of North and South Korea be a more representative, important, and lasting site than a third-party country? Just asking. On Saturday, he was saying he was hoping for a meeting in May. On Sunday, the new Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, said he was cautiously optimistic, saying we have a long history of negotiating with North Korea. Repeatedly, they have taken actions only to find that those promises proved false or unworthy, or they were incapable of keeping them. My goal was to try and identify if there was a real opportunity there. I believe there is. And I will say, for me personally, anything I hear from Kim Jong-un or North Korea, I take it with a grain of salt, right? We've seen talks in the past advance, then fall through, but what if it is different this time? It goes against a lot of what we've seen with North Korea, that one of the only things they really have to bargain with is the fact that they could be a nuclear threat. So what possible agreement could be made? What could North Korea want in exchange for that? Really one of their only bargaining chips, both internationally, but also to stay in power. I don't know, I'd be more than happy to find out that those concerns, my lack of trust, that it was misplaced, but ultimately we'll have to wait and see what happens with the situation. And that's where I'm going to end today's show. And remember, if you like this video, hit that like button. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Also remember to ring that bell, turn on notifications. Also, if you missed the last Philip DeFranco show, you want to catch up, click or tap right there to watch that. Or if you want something a little bit lighter, we have the newest behind the scenes vlog today, click or tap right there to watch that. But that's it, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.